Hello, I'm Shemiza Rashid, and you're listening to another episode of Tales of the Trail. Tales of the Trail is a podcast exploring the extraordinary journeys people have taken and challenged themselves with both physically and spiritually. On today's episode, I'm joined by Belal Ballali, a veteran mountaineer, qualified mountain leader, and founder of Peak Adventures UK, who has helped thousands embrace the outdoor life. In our conversation, we spoke about what drew him towards the mountains, why it's good to be in the outdoors, and the positive impact it has on your mental well-being. We also touched upon what it means to be a Muslim man in 2024, and the rise in female hikers and hiking bougieness, as well as rural racism. And we discussed all of this over a piping hot cup of coffee straight from the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro. I hope you enjoy listening to this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. Assalamu alaikum, Belal.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shemiza. Thank you for having me on. I didn't actually know the name of the podcast, Tales of the Trail, but I love it, mashallah. Fantastic name.
Well, thank you for joining me on the second series of Tales of the Trail, and I'm sure we're going to find some great stories coming from you today. But firstly, I want to ask, how did your journey begin?
Okay, so I grew up in Edinburgh in Scotland, and Edinburgh is surrounded by 7 hills, and then we've got Arthur's Seat, which is another hill right in the middle of the city, right next to Holyrood Palace. Very central, not too far from where we used to live. And I remember the first time going there. When you're at the bottom, it's filled with false summits. So you think, that's a summit there. So we, as kids, we just ran up, and it's like, okay, there's another one. So you run up, there's another one, and you kept going until you eventually got to the top. So we were surrounded by these hills, and you just get a beautiful view from up there. The world is seen from a different perspective. It's beautiful, it's breathtaking, and it allows the mind to decompress.
Why does your mind need to decompress in spaces like that?
It's in spaces like Edinburgh.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful place. It is, yeah. But life in general throws all sorts of curved balls at you. And sometimes when you're in the middle of something, it's hard for you to look at it objectively, look at it properly. And what's only a small issue at the time can seem rather overwhelming. And sometimes just removing yourself, getting to another spot, reassessing it, you're able to add a bit of perspective, and therefore just find it much easier to deal with and to move on, not to let it, not to get bogged down with it.
You've taken this journey not just for yourself, but you've also encouraged and invited many others, hundreds, maybe even thousands, not just in Edinburgh, across the country of England as well. And your journey began maybe, 20 years ago?
No, more than that.
More than that?
Okay, my journey with regards to leading people. Was about 20. It was about just over 20 years ago. I helped out with one of the ISOCs, University of Birmingham ISOC. They were doing a Snowden. They asked me to help. Alhamdulillah, I spent 3 years in Pakistan from 91 to 94, and I've done a lot of trekking whilst I was out there. So I'm very, very comfortable in the hills. Edinburgh's only little hills. Pakistan is a lot more. I went to Tajikistan, spent about 4 months out there in the mountains as well, and it was just like, subhanAllah, incredible.
So what differentiates these hills across the world, do you think, or mountains?
Accessibility. And when I say accessibility, I don't mean like, is it accessible to the BAME community? I mean, like, can you actually get there? So, Tajikistan, it was 2 days by road, and then 3 days walking in the hills to get to the point where we wanted to get to, and then we spent like 3 months up there in various areas around that area there, and it was just incredible. It was amazing. It's a very remote place. It's very difficult to get to, but I was comfortable. And this was at very high altitude. We're talking around about the 3,000, 4,000 meter mark. So it's quite extreme. I remember one night going to sleep, and then it got cold, so I woke up needing the toilet. And we were sleeping in a cave at this point, and proper caveman. I walked out of the cave, and it was just a white blanket everywhere. And this was just like overnight, but like everywhere was just covered in white. And those were the kind of extreme fluctuations in temperature that we were experiencing out there. So when I came back to the UK, doing these, it's quite embarrassing when talking to people from other countries about our mountains in the United Kingdom. You're talking about, Scavalpite, that's not even 1,000 meters. Snowdon, it's just under 1,100 meters. Ben Nevis, it's 1,300, and it's embarrassing because that's the start point for a lot of the mountains in some other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Kilimanjaro, you're starting at 1,800 meters, so way higher. Tubqal, you start at 1,700 meters. You start the trek at 1,700 meters. That's where the bottom is, and then you make your way up to over 4,000, 5,000 meters. Or what,
Listen, all mountains matter.
Absolutely,
our British, Welsh, Scottish mountains are precious to us, and we are, really proud to be able to hike and get to those spaces. But you talked about accessibility, and the mountains across the world are accessible. But for the Muslim community, or for the wider diverse communities, accessibility is not that simple, it seems. People seem to feel that they need to maybe require permission because there's rural racism.
Yeah. It's okay. There is the element of racism. However, it's not as bad as what it was previously. You find more stuff online than what you do on the actual treks.
Okay.
I mean, I have come across it on the treks, but it's very few and far between. I think our biggest problem is a cultural issue. We don't quite get it. We don't quite understand the benefits of going to hike. We don't even understand the benefit of just going for a walk. Just tell someone, just go for it. That is, the son of the Prophet ﷺ is, تغدى وتمدى تعشى وتمشى, that after dinner you go for a walk, and it actually helps with your digestive system, helps with diabetes. There's so many health benefits for you just from going for a little 20-30 minute walk after eat. But we've got a problem with doing that, getting people out to go out to the park. So alhamdulillah, there's been a big push in the UK over the last 18 years or so to try to get the Muslim community, the BAME community, out into the hills. And now, mashallah, you're seeing a lot more of it.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, just incredible.
Did you feel lonely a good 20 odd years ago? Like you were the only Muslim man trekking? A stranger.
You feel like a stranger, that you are, you're the novelty, you're the odd one out.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'll go to some quite remote hikes, not popular. Like Snowdon is just crazy popular. Ben Nevis is crazy, Scavalpite's crazy. But you go to some of the others that aren't so popular, and now you're seeing Muslims out there as well. Or you go to Snowdon, example, midweek, and I remember doing 2019 Ramadan. I love Snowdon. It's probably my favourite mountain in
Why
the
is
UK.
that?
It's just, I've done it over 600-700 times.
600-700 times.
Yeah.
Did you hear that number, people?
Yeah, but it's just,
I think you really like it.
Most of the times because I'm taking groups up there.
Of course.
But during Ramadan, I never used to. Pre-lockdown, there was you wouldn't get Muslim groups that would go out doing hikes in Ramadan. And I ended up missing it, so I thought, sack this, I'm going. So midweek, I just jumped in the car, just drove, and done it whilst fasting with a friend of mine, Ismail Hewitt, another mountain guide, who's up in Dundee now, enjoying the Munros. And we just, and as I'm coming down, I bumped into two lads from the Oldham Rochdale area, who I know, Muslim lads, midweek, and it was just nice to see. It's like people that I know as well. So it's just, there is more. The Muslim community is starting to get out. You've got Muslim hikers now, and I think they've reached like 50,000 followers on Instagram. They've got over, I don't know how many followers they've got on Facebook.
Why has it grown so much? What is it then that's bringing people together to do hikes, or in particular Muslims to do hikes? What is it?
The mountains are a strange one. The difficulty is to get someone out onto a mountain. But once you're able to get them there once, they're going to come back. 8 times out of 10, they're coming back. And
is it a spiritual connection? Is it
definitely
an athletic?
Definitely, it's
connection. What is it?
No, I think it's just, athletic, you can get it anywhere. You can go to the gym, you can get your athletic connection. But it is definitely, for me, the spiritual connection. I remember back in the 90s, I was at college. I went for a hike. I didn't want to go. I was, at the time, my mindset was, I've now become a city boy.
Right.
Young, enjoyed the urban lifestyle. That was it. I didn't want to go on this thing with college. Got forced into it. And I remember day 3, like being hiking for like 3 hours, getting to the summit. Got to the summit, I sat down, I had my sandwich in my hand, had an apple, had a pack of crisps, and had a juice. I remember as I'm about to bite into the sandwich, I just quickly glanced up, and all you could just see is like summit after summit after summit, all the way into the distance. And it was just breathtaking. It's like, subhanallah, and it's like you appreciate the majesty of the creator of all of this. Like it's like سبحان من أمره بين الكاف والنون إذا أراد أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. It's like, glory be to the one whose command is between the B and the E. Should he wish for something to happen, all he say is be, and it will be. And that's all it took from Allah Azza wa Jal. Be. And we've got these incredible, vast, gigantic structures just everywhere, right, all around us. These mountains. And at that moment there, that's I think that was one of the first times I felt a real connection with Allah Azza wa Jal, like a one that I can actually, a tangible one that I can always remember, I can always refer back to. And I think people feel that. People feel that spirituality when you're in the city and you just
the concrete jungle.
The concrete jungle.
It consumes you.
It does, and you can't even see the sky sometimes from all the buildings around you.
And the impact that has on your mental health, because you feel you're kind of suffocated, and it's quite monotonous.
Yeah.
And absolutely. To break away from that routine, I think, takes quite a lot of bravery. Yeah. So I do find it fascinating seeing the community kind of breaking out of that, the hamster wheel, really, and becoming a mountain goat or a mountain bug. Yeah. But it's beautiful. It really is. Your faith seems to play quite a big part in your life. And you speak about the mountains being a spiritual space. If you didn't have the mountains in your life, where would you embody your spiritualism, do you think?
I mean, Allah tells us in the Quran, so many times, he asks us to, reflect upon the creations of the heavens and the earth. And to appreciate the creator, you have to see the creation. And I mean, the real creation, like the mountains, the valleys, the rivers, the trees, the plants, the animals. And when you're stuck in, spaces like we are, like most of us live in the middle of the cities, and you don't get to see that, then it's difficult to have that. You get it in the mosque, you get it in prayer, of course. But after, it's keeping that fresh is not easy. It almost becomes mechanical sometimes. And this is something that we all, I struggle with. Whereas I think when I'm out there, it's like sometimes like, just exhale, just like take it in. It's like, I mean, on the trip that we went on earlier this year to Tubqal, one of the lads with us, Baz, he asked me, what's your USP? And I genuinely didn't have an answer. I was stuck, because it's not something I actually thought about properly. This has all happened so natural. It's not like, I had this, amazing plan that this is what it just happened naturally, alhamdulillah. But it's like afterwards I started thinking about it, and I think with me, especially on international treks, I do very much like to draw in the spiritual element, just so people can get as much of this experience as possible. And I think when you do tie in the spiritual element, it allows you just to stop, to ponder, and to think. We all go through our own difficulties in life. And I had quite a bad low a couple of years ago, and it's like I'm having to like get my head around it and deal with it. And what I told you earlier, that sometimes when you're stuck in it, you can't actually see it. It can feel slightly overwhelming. And then I had the Everest Base Camp trek a couple of months later, and I was on that trek there, I think on day number 9, day number 10, in which everything just like fell into place, and I just had clarity. And I remember listening to Maher Zain, that nasheed of his that became really popular during the time of the World Cup. This was during the time of the World Cup. Yeah, Man Sallayta B'Jami' al-Anbiya, that one there. And I had that on, had my earbuds in, and had that on repeat. This was towards the end, so I left the group. I walked ahead of them for a while. I had like 2 hours on my own, just for me. And it's like, since then, I've always done that. I've always tried to have like some moments to myself on every hike, on international ones, just to decompress, to figure things out, to
align yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to ground. It's grounding, isn't it?
It is grounding. It's perspective. And it's like, it's not that deep.
Mm.
What I thought was like the biggest catastrophe really isn't that deep. And it was like that, just walking in those hills, on those valleys, with the trees and the sky and the mountains and the white capped summits, and you've got beautiful Amadablan that you know, like, it's one of the mountains that you see the most whilst you're on that trail there, just looking at it. And it's like, you have to surrender to the Most High, that this is all a plan, and that this dunya isn't the be all and end all. We're gonna move past it. And I think mentally, psychologically, it's so big. And I think once people get out there and they appreciate this, then it's like, and the two come hand in hand. The my faith, and
And
the
nature.
hills are just, they enhance one another. They really complement one another. And I think that if I was to experience one without the other, I'm doing myself a disservice. So when I do take people out, I do try to make it as spiritual as possible, so they get a full an experience as possible.
And a gentle reminder, really, of who we actually are.
Yeah, and what
We're
our
humble
purpose is.
beings,
Yeah.
aren't we? Humble in the grand scheme of things. What would you say to anybody who's wanting to kind of take that first step? Because it is quite, I think it takes a lot of courage and bravery to kind of break out of your routine and then be around so many people. And how do you manage so many personalities when you're out?
Yeah,
Outdoors.
that is a challenge. And I've not always been successful in dealing with it. Some personalities do rub me up really badly. I've learnt to deal with it a lot better now, alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Whereas, you know,
It's like kind of your own character you feel that you've developed.
I think as you get a bit older, you get a bit wiser.
Okay,
And you start to
maturer.
understand it, maturer.
Mm.
There's one of the brothers, Radwan, from Human Appeal. He's
Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he made a point that people's character is something that's from the divine, that Allah has given. You have to accept that character as it is, and that's just the way that they are.
That's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Be
And
non-judgmental.
yeah,
Come as you are.
So it's just like accepting that this is the way Allah has just created this person. So you get some people are just naturally jokey, some people are just naturally loud, some people are just naturally shy and quiet, and you have to, you know, you don't. We're not cucumbers. Even cucumbers are slightly different.
Yeah, they are.
So it's like we're not factory made cucumbers. You know, Allah has given us our own little characters, our own little thumbprints, and it's about accepting that and then just managing it. You know, knowing how to deal with this person, and it makes it a lot easier. But I think for those that are thinking about it, I mean, you know, you've got Luton, you've got Phobe that they're always doing
Friends of Bright Eyes.
Yeah, Friends of Bright Eyes. Yeah, I love the work that they do. It's we don't get very many Muslim charities that are focusing on local problems, and these guys are, and that's the Hadith of Prophet to Mu'adh bin Jabal. He says, take from the rich and give to their poor. It's about staying within the community. It's not to take away from the other charities and the great work that they do overseas, especially with what's going on now in Gaza. But we can't forget what's happening here. And that has, over the years, been slightly neglected. But you've got Charity Islamic Relief, Human Appeal, Muslim Aid. I mean, there's lots of other charities out there who are Muslim hikers who are always putting on hikes. And maybe the first couple of times go out with one of these. They'll organise everything, especially the charity ones. They'll organise a meet-up point where you go meet them in your local city, and they'll pick you up in a coach. They'll take you all the way to the mountain. They'll have professional guides waiting for you there. They'll take you up, they'll bring you back down, and then they'll bring you back to your city. All you have to do is make sure you've got good footwear, waterproofs on, and that you're not wearing cottons. And inshallah, you're good to go. And hopefully, from that experience, doing that a couple of times, it'll give you the encouragement to go out and do it yourself. You've got hills around you here.
Yeah, it's building confidence, isn't it?
It is,
and it's kind of giving yourself that permission, that you should give yourself permission to do this, that you are entitled to attend these hikes or embrace nature. And I think that's something that people find quite overwhelming or intimidating.
It's the thought of it they find overwhelming, but it's about, don't think of it as, it's a mountain, I've got to, I've got to, don't just say it's an experience which I want to go and enjoy, and make it an enjoyable experience. One of my things, like coffee for me is a thing, and I was doing Machu Picchu in 2019. I wasn't that big. I used to drink coffee very pretentiously. I didn't used to enjoy it, but it's like it's what you do when you go out. You just do it. So it's
I
like
love that. He admits
social,
to the
vicious element
pretentiousness.
of it. Yeah, yeah. It's like it's like you get
So
these
you're now a coffee snob.
social. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've been accused of being that. So you get these people who smoke socially. They're not smokers, but if they're in a social gathering, they'll smoke. It's not a big thing anymore because smoking's not allowed indoors anymore. So I used to be that with coffee. If I'm out,
Okay.
I'd have a coffee. I went to Peru and 2019 do Machu Picchu, and we went through this coffee farm and we stopped to give us a little experiment, and they gave us beans, raw beans,
Right.
and we roasted them ourselves, and then we had this big massive natural grinder, stone grinder, like from like hundreds of years how people have been
Right.
grinding stuff. And we ground it, and we put it in this funky contraption, put some hot water, and it was basically an Americano is what we made. And since then, I was like, I thought I'm only going to try this for the experience. I know I'm not going to enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed the taste of it. It didn't have that acidy, burnt aftertaste to it, and I
Okay.
just really enjoyed
Didn't
it.
taste manufactured.
It's not that. I don't know what it is, but I used to everything used to have that acidy, burnt
aftertaste.
Yeah, the aftertaste,
Right.
which I didn't like. And since then, I've actually got into it, and so I do Kilimanjaro almost every single year, and I buy my beans from there. So
Way. Okie
I'll
doke.
actually grind this now. So it's so every single year when I go to Kilimanjaro, I'll bring back 12 kg, which will last me for the year and enough to give some away to friends and family as well. And then every morning I'll just go through the streets of just grinding my coffee, using the AeroPress. But even when I go on hikes as well. So some of the hikes that I go on, especially international ones, I'll take this with me. And in the morning I'll have a coffee. And it's a little ritual you just go through. And it's quite therapeutic as well.
For you?
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
It's because I know the motion that I'm going through to do this. I thought I already grounded most of this earlier. I'll let you smell this. It's like I know the motion, so I'm not having to think about what I'm doing now, what am I doing here. I just do it. It's nice. Yeah.
It smells roasted. There's it smells almonds
Okay.
and a hint of dark chocolate.
I think
and it's a bit
East African
spicy.
has got a bit of the chocolate notes to it. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, loads of different notes there.
Wow.
Warm.
I'm the snob.
So they're warm and
Inshallah.
Yeah, it's quite wood-like as well. It smells perfect for this autumnal season that we're heading towards.
But so I mean, these beans are from the foot of Kilimanjaro. The mountain
wow!
Itself.
That is crazy. You know why it's crazy? It's because the fact that they're from the foot of the mountain.
Yeah.
So if I drink this, am I going to have this now desire to get to Kilimanjaro? Is this what you're doing? Is this what you're doing?
Honestly, if only it was that easy.
It's like a bit of a spell going on here.
People, people actually do get put off these mountains because, like, look, it is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you.
Indeed,
it is difficult. You're at high altitude. The air drops. The temperatures drop. You lose your creature comforts. Things that you're used to, like electricity,
right,
hot running water, a shower, a microwave oven, a kettle. You lose all that. Paved roads, paved paths. You lose all that. I keep saying it. You are at your comfort zone, and some people are. They're used to a really bougie lifestyle. Especially some of the females, without sounding chauvinistic, but especially the females, they like certain creature comforts. They don't rough it up as much. Some of the lads will just go out, so whatever.
But we're seeing a growing number of Muslim females coming out and really becoming, becoming alpinists. Is that the word?
Yeah.
So you've got your walker, trekker, hiker, mountaineer, and alpinist, right?
Yeah.
So,
and you feel there was this Amina's Somali girl. And she just goes on these hikes on her own, multi-day, with a backpack and camper and everything on social media. And it's like, but it's not just, you've seen Amira. I know that you interviewed Nina last week.
Nina,
Zahra.
Nadia.
There's so many girls out there that are actually taking this on properly, like really, really pushing it. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic to see.
admirable.
Yeah,
Definitely,
it is.
because it takes guts, it takes tenacity,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
and you are pushing yourself mentally and physically. And it's not an easy task because there's lots of preparation, I believe, in getting to that stage. Hence, your equipment and
your fitness, your ability to read
and your mentally.
maps. Yeah. There's a lot that goes on.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I remember in my during my training, I made a few mistakes on just map reading, and it's like it eats away at you.
Uh-huh.
So but for me, it's like if when I fail, I've got to come back and I've got to do it. I've got to reconquer it. I've got to go over it. Otherwise, it's a bug. It's the whole. Yeah, you can go back and you feel, but it's going to come back. It's going to start eating away
And
at you.
is that you say that to others because it's your own personal experience, how that actually affects you? Because it is demoralizing when you're told to turn back and you've come all this way, especially if it's for a charity.
Yeah.
And to kind of, how does one then build their confidence?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. As I
It's
said earlier, it's if you go out with these charities, then
thank you.
you're welcome. If you go with these charities and everything's prepared for you, literally just come and walk.
Right.
Have your phone with you, take the pictures, enjoy the scenery. Make sure you get yourself some. There you go.
Okay.
Kilimanjaro coffee.
Bismillah. Oh, I'm going to have to smell it again. Smell those notes and try it.
There's no bitterness to it. It's quite smooth.
That is a lovely cup of coffee. There is
no milk, no sugar, just straight black.
Yeah.
So it's
I feel so brave. I've never had coffee without milk.
Yeah, okay.
So this is like the real deal, people.
New beginnings.
It sure is, and I will. This is now. I've got a taste for Kilimanjaro now.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to be my next. Bismillah. Thank you so very much for that, Belal. That's actually a real treat to my senses, because to be able to have something from so far away on Tales of the Trail is definitely
drinks
very welcomed. Drinks. So we need to have like drinks from all over these mountains. I mean, the habitat that you're experiencing on all these different mountains, is there a particular mountain that has kind of just like, blown you away and you thought, gosh, there is no, because do all mountains look the same?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Snowdon doesn't look the same on any 2 days.
Ah, because the weather.
The weather, the clouds,
and the time that you go.
Time of year. It all makes a difference.
And you've been up there like 600 to 700 times, right?
And I still love it. I mean, especially the view of Emerald Lake from the ridge.
Right.
That view out there, so you're looking east.
Yeah.
It's just, and when you do it on a sunrise, and it's just, I mean, I've done the sunrise trek, I don't know how many times. I only get to see an actual sunrise with clear skies maybe like 30% of the time. So that's sometimes it's just been bucketing it where you're in the cloud and you're just getting soaked through. It's like getting to the summit. Come on, guys, let's head back down. You're not going to see nothing. But even that's an experience. You think back and say, wow, that was exhilarating. Mm-hmm. That was such a good experience. And it's that sense of achievement that I managed to do that in those conditions. But I enjoy it. At the time, it's difficult and I'm pushing my body. Right. But it's like that sense of achievement at the end. It's just when it's
exhilarating, right? It's exhilarating.
That's the flip side. So, okay, I might not get the views and the spiritual element, but I'll get that side instead. So either or, you're going to win. You'll get one of the two experiences.
It fascinates me because you've done this over and over again, but you don't seem to be getting bored of it.
No, alhamdulillah.
So is there a place that you have yet to achieve, you wish to go to? Where is that?
So I've done K2 Base Camp a couple of years ago, which I'm doing again this summer coming. And that for me has probably been one of the best experiences when I've taken a group on.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just prior to this, Kilimanjaro is my favourite hike. Mm-hmm. It's up and down in 6 days, 5 nights, 5895. It's a big height, 5,895 metres above sea level. I think it translates to about 19,000 feet or something. And it's a summit. It's the roof of Africa. Amazing. Mm-mm. The views aren't the greatest. Now, I only say that because I've had better views elsewhere. Whereas if you haven't
Mhm.
experienced those places, then the views are like, wow, this is incredible. For me, it used to be Everest. Everest Base Camp was the views for me. It was like just beautiful, especially Ahmed Ablan. But that you're in very narrow valleys with very steep hills on either side of you, and the best way to describe it is that it's like walking through Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
You don't get to see much of a skyline.
Right. So it's like skyscrapers.
Skyscrapers
Yeah.
are surrounded by.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is amazing. Whereas on K2 Base Camp, as soon as you're on the glacier, day number 3 or 4, it just opens up. So the valleys are a lot wider. So you're seeing a lot more summits. You're getting a
Mm.
much better view around, and it is just incredible. It's absolutely ridiculously beautiful, and they're all so different. Triangle Tower
Mm.
are there, and it's just beautiful. Broad Peak, and then you obviously get to see K2 as well, and it's just stunning. And I remember it was difficult. We're walking. We'd had a lot of snow. We'd had a bit of rain. Sub-zero temperatures. It was a tough one. And I was speaking to Dr. Usman Ahmed. He's been my guy on the doctor, which normally goes with me on most of these expeditions. Like first I've done Kili, Everest Base Camp, Tubqal. K2 Base Camp. He was always there on the first time I'd done any of them. So he's always been my guy, alhamdulillah. And he says, "Bilal, look, you need to reconsider whether or not to bring people here because this is difficult." And Amjad, who's done a lot of tricks with me as well, and he was kind of agreeing. And to be honest, I was agreeing as well. And then the day when we went, because we hadn't seen the sky in a few days, it's been horrible. It's been cold, and it's like tough, really demoralizing. And then the day we're going to base camp, K2 base camp, we woke up in the morning and the skies just opened up and it was just blue skies, and you're seeing all these summits all around you. And this is at Concordia, where it's a bit of a junction. So there's a valley that way, there's a valley that way, there's a valley behind you, and so you're seeing loads of different summits, and it is just the most incredible. And I was like, it's one of those moments you're just like, Subhanallah, you just have to accept that God is the greatest. It's just incredible. And then we got to base camp. We came back to Broadbeak Base Camp, which is where we stayed the night. And I spoke to Doc. I was, Doc, I have to bring people back here. Because yeah, you have to bring people back here. It was just incredible. It was just amazing.
You just don't want to be on your own on these hikes and stuff. You want to go there, but you want to bring company along with you.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy moments on my own.
Yeah, of course.
But you have to. But
sharing that experience with others is beautiful.
Especially after. So at the moment there, I just want to be. It's just me and this mountain. And then later on in the evening, you're chilling with other people, and you sat down, and it's just. You're reliving the experience.
So what was the story before all the mountaineering? Or mountaineering is this your day job? Is there more to you than this?
At university, I've done multimedia technology, which is a
Fantastic.
bachelor in science, computer-based degree. After uni, whilst at uni, I used to interpret for this law firm, the immigration department mainly. And a friend of mine who was studying at Leicester, he was finishing at the same time, and he said, "Ask them if they've got any jobs going." So I asked them, and Sue Conlon, she says, "Yeah, we do," but she encouraged me to apply. So we both applied. We both got shortlisted, got interviewed. We both got the jobs, alhamdulillah. So I've done immigration law for 8 years, and then I left that to do investigative consultancy, which working mainly on war on terror cases. I've done a bit of anti-terror cases for 3 guys that British government were accusing of terrorism and trying to deport them. Alhamdulillah, we won that. So from that, I found a little niche. So I've done a bit of work. I worked with New York University, various lawyers from America and the UK on various international cases. But then, alhamdulillah, that started to die down a bit. In 2016. At the same time, I'd qualified as a mountain guide by this point. I got a job with, in a big corporation as a senior investigator for them. That lasted less than a month, and then I got into this, and so that 2016 I got into this. 2017, and since then, alhamdulillah, I haven't looked back.
And this is a place that you want to be, and it's interesting because you've had it's been quite intense. It sounds like the cases that you've had to work on with people whose lives were on the line, really, and it was about freedom and justice, and it's the irony here about space and boundaries and freedom and justice, and now you're kind of turned 360 and just embracing freedom in the way it should be.
Some of those cases were really frustrating. I mean, there are, when it comes to the whole war on terror, many governments have transgressed and have been very oppressive in their legislation, in the way that they look at things, even the way they've got in structured legislation to straitjacket the judges, to tie the judges' hands, to force them to, you can only go in one direction.
So may I then ask, what does freedom mean in 2024? What does human freedom actually mean?
The ability to go and explore the world, without prejudice, without you being harmed, without any obstructions in your way, be it social, cultural, from, let's say a racism point of view, or my own culture that doesn't quite understand it, or be it, hard barriers like the apartheid that people in Palestine face, to the ability to, to have your own opinions, to speak freely about what you feel on certain issues, whether domestically or internationally, to call out an injustice when you see it. I think that for me is one of the most important things, that the ability to speak out against an injustice when you see an injustice, and not worry about getting,
the repercussions,
shot or something, get stuck in a prison cell.
Nature. Nature is it's quite sanctimonious at the moment with climate change,
global warming.
Yeah. So, as Muslims, what is our role with nature, and how should we be upholding it if it's a responsibility?
I'm not just going to speak about nature and just the planet, but our bodies as well. These have all been entrusted to us by Allah Azza wa Jal. They're an amana. And when you're entrusted with something, you have to look after it. You have to protect it. You shouldn't damage it. And this is when I speak to people about, getting healthy and looking after your body, because your body is a manner from Allah Azza. When I see someone, smoking, I'm like, your body is a manner from Allah Azza, and you're damaging it. Respect the amana. Respect Allah Azza by respecting this amana. Look after your health, but also the environment as well. Surah Al-Rahman, Allah says, وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَانَ أَلَّا تَطْغَوْا فِي الْمِيزَانِ. Allah Azza has placed a balance, so you don't transgress the balance. And the balance is in everything, in the way that we interact with each other, recognizing our obligations towards one another, but also in the way that we interact with animals, and we interact with the planet, the way we interact with water, the way we interact with air, that we shouldn't be destroying it, and that we should keep that balance there. We shouldn't try to transgress it. We shouldn't try to mess with it. I listened to a talk by a sheikh once, and he was saying that these scientists were trying to figure out why there's only X amount of seaweed. Why isn't any more seaweed? And they conclude that it needs more iron. If there's more iron, they get more seaweed. So they added these little iron balls. That came back a few weeks later, and he says the amount of seaweed overgrowth, he says it was disturbing to see, and he says some of them were physically sick. They vomited from just what they saw, because they've gone and messed about with the balance. So we need to understand how this world is created, how the ecosystems work with one another, how, like, removing badgers from a park will totally change the ecosystem and actually mess it up a bit. Whereas when you reintroduce them, you start getting river streams and all
just
that.
Like bees.
And
pesticides and the damage that's causing to the environment. So it's a circle.
These little things here. I mean, now we're talking about trees and that, air pollution and all that. We went through a period of deforestation in the United Kingdom, to allow the farmers to better look after their sheep, but you got rid of all these trees. So alhamdulillah, now we're bringing back a lot of the trees.
Indeed.
That's why hills in the UK look very different to hills in Europe. When you go to Europe, you don't see what we see here, because they've all got trees on them over there, whereas we got rid of our trees. But there is recognition. People are understanding. There is a lot of talk about, regarding the subject. So, alhamdulillah, things are improving, and they are getting better.
Improving in the awareness of by the Muslim community.
Awareness in general. I think Muslim community, we might be lacking a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's more to do with social mobility. I think when you're in a better place socially and financially in life, economically in life, then you can start thinking about these other things. But when you've got a family that's just making ends meet and they're just struggling just to feed their kids, the last thing they want to be worrying about is
it's the
environment.
it's what they prioritize in the moment.
But at the same time, it's not them that's that's destroying taking down all these trees, and it's the big corporations.
Of course.
But what's happening now is that people are becoming aware of it, awareness is getting raised, and they're applying pressure on these bigger corporations.
I think we can all begin from our own homes and do little things that can actually have a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
So we all should take that responsibility, even if it's the smallest action, in starting from our own homes.
The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ with regards to water, saying don't be wasteful with water,
course.
even when doing wudu. Even if you've got a river stream running in front of your house, use only what you need. And it's that concept there. If we were to apply it on the micro level, it'll change.
Indeed, and also not overeating and over-consuming food and wastage. And we've seen a lot of projects in Ramadan where they've become more green iftars, and relaying that message. Balancing the home, balancing life, the role of Muslim men in the world right now. Do you feel that you're under a lot of pressure to balance roles and responsibilities?
Everybody's circumstances are slightly different, and striking that balance is difficult. I actually think that. So I'm originally Libyan. My dad's Libyan, and when I visited Libya in 2011, spent a bit of time with my cousin. I saw what balance looked like with him, and I saw that a lot out there. They seem to. There's a lot more of a family connection, a social connection, and an enjoyment of each other and of the children. Growing up, my mindset was, with regards to my kids, I've got to make sure that they're fed. I've got to make sure that they're clothed. I've got to make sure that they get an education and all that. And this is it. I'm only focusing on these things. And it was never about. But when I went to Libya and I saw the way Ali was with his kids, he actually enjoyed his kids, like took genuine pleasure from spending time with his kids. It's like this is his unwinding time, and it was a beautiful thing to see, and made me look at things slightly different. And since coming back, alhamdulillah, I've managed to change that. I've managed to, alhamdulillah, try to enjoy my kids a lot more.
What have you done? Are you softening your approach to discipline?
Yeah.
Are you listening and actually processing what you're hearing?
It's engaging.
Okay.
Like actually just playing properly with them.
Not being distracted by your mobile phone.
Or your friends or anything. Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm going to dedicate amount of time where I'm going to spend a bit of time with my kids and just enjoy them. And it's like, it's different. It's like my third child, Reem, she's always been... just, mashallah, energy levels are ridiculous. When she was like bouncing around, and it's like, so with that, it was just natural. You should just enjoy that. It was just fun. But with Hanoud, my eldest, she was a lot more about conversation. She was a lot more about engaging.
Yeah.
Whereas my son, she's very gentle, very sentimental. So it's like enjoying those different characteristics in each one of them. Jonas, he's the youngest, so he's managed to get the best because he was like 1.5 when I went to Libya. No, he's 1. He was 1 years old when I went. He just turned 1 when I went to Libya. So when I came back, it's like, so he'd had that from a very young age. So I've been able to engage with him right from the offset.
His formative years.
Yeah. Whereas with Reem, she was like 7 years old by the time that happened. So although I did actually enjoy the first 7 years with her, but with Hanoud and my son, it was a lot later on. Hanoud was now 11 years old. My son was 9 years old, so it was like I'd missed a good chunk. But it's about just enjoying it. Don't see it as a chore. Don't see your kids as a chore. See it as there is an element of you have obligations towards them that you have to fulfill, but also enjoy them as well. You know, it's like your car. You've got to service it. You've got to do the MOT. You've got to refuel it. You've got to wash it. But also enjoy the drive. Go on a country road and enjoy the drive. So it's not. Don't just treat it as, you know, as a thing that gets you from A to B and that's it. Enjoy life. Take those moments and enjoy life.
So we've spoken about children. We've spoken about luxuries. We've spoken about nature. But what about marriage?
Okay.
And Muslim men and in the space of marriage? And do you feel that the dynamics have changed
It's
in the pressures of the world right now, and the cost of living crisis, and the role of the man and the role of the woman in a marriage?
It's I mean the whole cost of living crisis, and it's it's, whether it's manufactured or not, and it's just a way. I mean the whole concept of we're liberating women, that's why we're getting them to the workforce. No, you're not liberating women. You need more people in the labour force. That's why you want them. That's why you want them. It's got nothing to do with that. But it's modern times dictate that a single income sometimes can be difficult, and that you might actually need two incomes. Each situation is different, but for me, look, you've got this whole fake masculine red pill thing that's going on now, and then you've got on the other side you've got the feminists, and it's almost like we're trying to create a world where there's this constant battle.
Yeah.
And it's not. We're not here to battle. We're here to complement one another. And it's the other thing is that you're forcing men to speak about their emotions as well at the same time. Like, no, if I don't want to speak about my emotions, leave me alone.
That's interesting.
It's like I'm not comfortable speaking about my emotions. I like to process it on my own. That's how I deal with it. Don't force me to conform to what you think is right. This is what works for me. So it's putting these rigid.
Putting people in boxes,
structures, in place, and force them. No, this is how you got to do it. You've got to be very emotional and speak about your emotions all the time, or the other side with the whole red pill guys, where no, you've got to be like and just noisy and just like total disregard to women. It's like no. Look at the way the Prophet ﷺ lived his life. Do your best to. We're never going to live like he lived, obviously, but do your best to emulate that. Look, he says, "خيركم خيركم لأهلي وأنا خيركم لأهلي." That the best of you are the best of you to your families, and I'm the best one to my family. That's the mindset that we need to adopt as Muslim men, and Muslim women. Respect the role of the man in the house. Don't try to undermine them. And we've got this understanding between each other that I understand my role and you understand your role, and we work together. Then you've got a beautiful
harmony.
household.
It's harmony,
absolutely,
and purpose and peace.
But remember, even the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha which raised her voice and she got angry and she threw things at the Prophet ﷺ.
Did she?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
She smashed a plate once. Yeah, a plate with honey.
Oh, with honey.
Yeah. The plate had honey. She threw something to it to break it because she got jealous.
Okay.
And this is why the Prophet ﷺ was sat with his companions and said, "Oh, how dare you disrespect me in front of my friends?" He was like, he just pulled the plate together, the crack, he pulled it together, and he looked at them, the companion, says, "Eat, for truly your mother is jealous." So he brushed it off as a joke.
Okay.
And it's
I suppose that's a beautiful example of diffusing a situation with love and laughter rather than escalating it. And so is that what men need to do? Is like understand that women can be emotional beings in that moment, and it's their role to kind of give her the nurture and care. And that's my opinion, but what's your opinion on that?
No, I agree absolutely. Okay. But let's not also do this thing where we're just looking at these are the obligations that men have to do, and then we just ignore the obligations of women as well.
Of course.
It requires both parties to play their role to create this harmony. It requires both to create this harmony. And if it's only one that's doing one and the other one isn't doing it, whether it be the man or be it the woman, it works. It happens both ways. Then you're not going to get that harmony. It's going to get to a point where one has enough. Don't get me wrong. There'll be times where the husband is feeling low and the woman's going to have to pick up the slack until he's feeling better and he's back on it again. It's fine. And then she'll be feeling low and he has to pick up the slack. But you can't be keeping a record of it. You can't be keeping score and say, "Oh, what about that to another?" No. You have to let these things go. And if it comes from a place of love, of respect, then you're not keeping tally. And it's like you understand that this is a partnership for us to navigate our way through this dunya. and we work together to navigate through this dunya. Like the map reading. Sometimes I'll get it slightly wrong, and actually, I think you're looking at the map slightly wrong. North is there. You need to turn it a bit more. Oh yeah, you're right. And then you go. You make. Oh no, actually, you're not at the bottom of the valley. We're at the top. So we're at this part here of the map, and you're just pointing each other out,
rather than
and you help each other.
being condescending and
or keeping score,
yeah,
or proving a
of
point, or
course,
saying I'm better than you. It's about working together to try to get to that destination, which is Jannah ultimately.
Mashallah. And on that note, it's been an absolute pleasure, Brother Belal Ballali, for talking to us on Tales of the Trail. And may we all be guided on the right path towards Jannah. Ameen.